Okay, right, we're going to have a look then at trying to draw more sort of organic forms. So far we've been looking at obviously kind of square things and straight lines and so on. Things aren't like that in real life. Okay, and the products that you're going to be designing are probably going to be more kind of curved, possibly to fit people's hands and so on. So just going to have a look at this exercise. There's loads of cool stuff on YouTube, apart from the videos that we've put together. There's one called the Design Sketchbook. A guy on there does something very, very similar to this. So first of all, I'm doing it in a red pencil this time, just to make it a little bit easier to see than the blue one, is just to kind of sketch some circles. Okay, and with these circles, what we want to try and do is to make them look rounded. Now, one way that you can make something look rounded is by adding some tone, shading and things to them. It takes quite a long time to do, okay, to make it look good. So what we want to do is to do something a little bit quicker. Okay, and we're going to be looking at contours. So contour lines to form a shape, to make it look kind of more circular. Okay, and just want you to kind of practice drawing these contour lines around it to try and give it an impression of depth. And the good thing about the kind of red pencil, or the blue pencil in your case, you can just kind of feel what's right. You can go over it a few times till it just kind of feels correct. You can shade certain parts as well. So if we would choose that, shade bits off, and you can start to pick out forms. Yeah. And certainly for your kind of design stage, something like that with all the markings and things on are absolutely fine. Okay, so first of all, have a go, circles, and we're trying to come up with the contours, as we call them, throughout the shape. What we don't want to do is something like that. It's kind of too sharp. Okay, that as a design is too sharp. I want to try and have this kind of round elliptical design in it. Okay, what we call contours. Okay, have a bit of a play with that. Right, we're going to have a look at a technique now called the potato. So the first thing that you need to do is to draw a range of kind of roughly potato shapes. Okay. And then you're going to have a go at doing the contours again. So feel free to kind of move the paper around to suit you. I'm not moving it around just to make life a little bit easier for the video. Again, the good thing with a coloured pencil is you can just kind of feel your way with it. It's not going to be perfectly neat. So there, I might have a little dip in the product. Same on here. Some parts flat, same as before. This final one. So it's all about experimenting this. So after the video, you want to come up with a few different roughly potato-y type shapes. And a lot of it is just getting used to these kind of contours, these ellipses, to make them feel correct. So these are obviously just kind of conceptual ideas. We're not drawing anything specifically, we're just playing around with forms, like organic shapes. trying to get away from the squares and stuff that we've done so far. So this bit then is looking like a saddle. It almost looks like a wire. It's a bit like a wire frame from kind of CAD work, a bit like you did for the F1 cars and stuff. You can view that in a wire. So once you've got something like that, you can go over it. So this bit I might have as a flat. You can go over it in a pen or a pencil. Give that quite flat there. Okay, so that looks quite 3D with no shading on it. You could put something like what we call a false horizon on there. Again, doesn't need to be neat. Might do a sort of a shadow, some kind of representation of a shadow anyway. Darker underneath, and this false horizon and a shadow just to helps kind of ground the object, just to make it kind of stick to the floor, so it doesn't look like it's floating. Similar kind of thing on here. You can also put in details. So if I have this as a flat, no, let's have the top part as a flat area. Okay, shade that off. In fact, let's do it in a pen so you can see it a bit better. And then when you've got one of these contours, something like that, and you can kind of flatten things off, like so. So it might be, I don't know, some kind of detail like that. This might represent where you've got screw holes. And you can annotate parts on it. Okay, so you could annotate that there on your actual design. Remember, we're not designing anything as of such yet. We're just playing around with shapes and playing around with ideas. Okay, have a go at that then. Having a look at different contour lines on the potato. Right, and this final one then, we're going to combine what we did before with crating and one where we've just looked at contour lines to produce a picture of a mouse. Okay, so I'll keep this probably off screen slightly. I'm going to use a coloured pencil again. In this case I'm just going to use a red one, so it's a bit easier on screen. You can do it in perspective or you can do it in isometric, and again, the kind of more confident you get at this, you can kind of guess the perspective. So I'm just going to guess this kind of perspective into what looks kind of roughly okay for me. So I've got my crate, because it's roughly kind of square, it's going to fit into a crate, something like that. And now what I'm going to do is to start to think about the sort of the outline shape. So it's obviously a curved shape like so. I'm not going to worry about the side at the moment. The side goes in there, but I'm just going to keep that kind of flat at the moment to create sort of a ball shape almost, sort of a blob. And then the lead's going to come out something like that. And then this is where it makes it very hard to do it in a crate. I can put in the rough kind of shape through the centre. The rest of it now becomes quite hard to do. So this is when again the kind of the contours help. So I can contour the object, imagining what it's like through the centre. In fact, let me cut this part out here. And again, this is going to look a little bit odd because it kind of gets bigger at the back. Because I've got it in perspective, it's going to get smaller, so it's going to look a little bit strange. And at the front here, the contour lines are going to be a bit smaller, and then these top contour lines, it's going to kind of go around there, kind of quite big and small at the back. From here, dip in, like so, it's back line. So again, it's just about kind of feeling shapes really, to kind of feel what kind of feels right. I've got this kind of bit through the middle, and I've got a ball here. The ball, again, you could crate. And you can round it off, like so. Flat part of the mouse, around this kind of design. So it's starting to take shape. Okay, I will speed up the video a bit and show you the next part. Alright, so looking at it now, I've just kind of gone over some of the contour lines that I feel I liked. Kind of got the shapes. Now obviously it's kind of looking a little bit stripy, I guess. So again, this is where you can kind of firm up the lines. Let's do it with a pen again, so you can see a little bit clearer. So you can firm up the lines with a pen or a pencil. Again, you're trying to come up with confident lines, not the kind of the hairy lines that we've talked about before. And you can see I've even contoured the wire at the end of the mouse, just to try and give it that impression that it is rounded and not flat. And obviously you would leave those on for your concept sketches. If you wanted to for your proper thing, you can take them off, but I think they look quite nice, and it does help it just make it look a little bit more rounded than otherwise it may do. So this is all pretty quick. Have a go at doing a mouse by all means. On this edge, just for a second, you can see it kind of fades out. It's not particularly a hard edge on the mouse. So often I kind of do that with sort of a broken line, and then it can kind of fade out, something like that. On your product, when you're designing it later on, sometimes these kind of splits where they've been joined together are quite nice to put in as a detail, because it gives an impression of the shape. So it can form a practical use, but it can also look kind of, makes it a bit easier to draw as well, to make it look 3D. Just makes it look a bit more kind of aesthetic. Just put this wheel in briefly. Might put in some little kind of marks like so. Again, you could put in this kind of false horizon. Put in a rough kind of shadow idea. Once again, to just kind of ground it. Something like so. Okay, so even without any kind of colour on it, it looks pretty 3D already. You could add markers and things to it later on. You could add colour, whatever you need to do. But as a starting point to make it look kind of 3D, using a mix of the crating system and the contouring system, you can see you can come up with some fairly quick, fairly easy drawings using the two pictures. Okay, have a go at doing a mouse.